In 1951, a nutritionist at the Ohio State Extension Service named Dr. Harold Fenn spent 3 months documenting the midday meals of Amish households in Wayne County. His report, 47 pages, hand-typed, was submitted, filed, and never published. The reason given was that his findings lacked applicability to modern nutritional standards. What he had actually found was that elderly Amish men and women living alone were eating better for less money and with less illness than their urban counterparts on lunches that cost, on average, 11 cents per meal. That report sat in a filing cabinet for 60 years. I got a copy of it, and today we're going through every single one of those lunches. The problem with eating alone. Here's something the food industry doesn't want seniors to think about too carefully. The entire modern grocery system is engineered against you if you live alone. Single-serve packaging costs 40 to 60% more per ounce than bulk. Convenience meals marketed to older adults, the frozen trays, the shelf-stable senior nutrition products, run anywhere from $4 to $9 per lunch. Multiply that out over a month, and a person living alone on a fixed income is spending between $120 and $270 just on midday meals. The Amish solved this problem a long time ago, not because they were poor, though many chose simplicity, but because they understood something about food that got quietly educated out of the rest of us. Cheap doesn't mean less. It means different, and different in this case means better. While you never learned this, none of what follows can be patented. There is no product to sell you. A pot of bean soup made from a 25-cent handful of dried navy beans cannot generate a revenue stream. Bone broth simmered from a saved chicken carcass doesn't need a trademark. The food industry's entire business model depends on convincing you that convenience has value. And the best way to do that is to make sure you forget that cooking for one, the old way, was never inconvenient in the first place. Ruth Bontrager of Millersburg, Ohio, who was 74 when Dr. Fenn interviewed her, put it plainly. I spend maybe 20 minutes on my noon meal, but I spend none of it worrying. Here are her lunches, and the lunches of her neighbors, 20 of them, the 20 lunches. Navy bean soup with a ham bone. A single cup of dried navy beans costs roughly 18 cents at bulk pricing. Soaked overnight and simmered with a saved ham bone, the kind most people throw away, this produces 4 full servings of a high-protein, filling lunch. Amos Yoder of Sugar Creek stored his bean soup in a cold cellar and ate from it across 3 days. It gets better, he said. First day is good, third day is best. Beginner mistake. Salting too early. Salt toughens beans. Wait until they're fully soft. Egg salad on homemade bread. 2 hard-boiled eggs, a small spoon of mustard, a pinch of celery salt, and whatever bread you made that week. Total cost, 30 cents. The protein in 2 eggs rivals any senior nutrition shake on the market, at a fraction of the price. Martha Schlabach of Holmes County made this every Tuesday for 30 years. She kept her eggs hard-boiled and ready in a bowl on the counter, not the refrigerator. Room temperature hard-boiled eggs keep safely for up to 1 week. Potato soup with dried onion. 3 small potatoes, a handful of dried onion flakes, a cup of broth, and a spoonful of lard or butter. Simmered 20 minutes. This was the most common lunch in Dr. Fenn's survey, appearing in 31 of the 47 households he visited. Total cost per serving, 22 cents. It is filling, gentle on the digestion, and requires almost no chewing, which matters more than people acknowledge for older adults eating alone. Apple and aged cheese plate. This isn't just a snack dressed up as a meal. The combination of tart apple and sharp aged cheese, a pairing documented in Pennsylvania Dutch households as far back as 1887, provides sugar, fat, and protein in one no-cook plate. Eli Schwartz of Lancaster County kept a small wedge of aged cheddar wrapped in cloth in his cellar. Cost for a full lunch plate, 45 cents. No stove, no cleanup. Done in 3 minutes. Creamed corn on toast. 1 ear of fresh corn, or a half cup of canned corn, simmered in a tablespoon of cream or whole milk, served over a thick slice of toasted homemade bread. This was considered a complete noon meal across rural Ohio through the 1940s. It costs 28 cents today. Jacob Miller of Dalton kept a dozen ears roasted and dried, hanging in his mudroom each fall, pulling one down as needed all winter. Cold cornmeal mush, sliced and pan-fried. Make cornmeal mush the night before. Cornmeal, water, a pinch of salt. Pour it into a loaf pan and let it set overnight. By noon the next day, slice it, fry it in a thin film of lard until golden, and serve with apple butter or a drizzle of sorghum. This was a staple Amish lunch from 1890 through at least 1960. A full week's worth of this lunch costs 80 cents in cornmeal. The mistake to avoid? Cutting it before it's fully cold. It'll crumble. Give it the full night. Bone broth with egg noodles. A chicken carcass simmered for 4 hours in water with an onion, and a bay leaf produces a broth that the modern wellness industry now sells for $8 a jar. For seniors, it is specifically valuable, rich in glycine and collagen, gentle on joints, easy to digest. Add a handful of homemade egg noodles. Total cost, 35 cents. Ida Troyer of Charm, Ohio, made broth every Monday and used it across the entire week's lunches as a base. Pickle and butter sandwich. This sounds too simple to take seriously, and that's exactly why it disappeared. Thick slices of homemade bread, good butter, and 2 or 3 slices of dill pickle. The fermented pickle provides probiotics. The butter provides fat that keeps you satisfied until supper. It costs 15 cents. Sarah Graber of Sugar Creek made this every day for 15 years after her husband passed. People think simple means sad, she told Dr. Fenn. It doesn't. Dried bean and smoked onion soup, different from the navy bean version. This uses a mixture of whatever dried beans are on hand. Pinto, kidney, black. Smoked dried onion adds a depth that fools the palate into thinking there's meat in the pot. There isn't. Full lunch, 20 cents? This keeps refrigerated for 5 days without quality loss. Cottage cheese with preserved peaches. Homemade cottage cheese. And yes, you can make it from a quart of whole milk for 60 cents, served alongside a spoonful of preserved peaches from last summer's canning. High-protein natural sugar calcium. This was common in Lancaster County households through the 1950s as a midday meal for elderly relatives. It requires no cooking on the day of serving. Sourdough bread with lard and salt. Before you dismiss this, lard from pasture-raised pigs is nutritionally closer to olive oil than to the saturated fats in processed food. A thick slice of sourdough, day-old is fine, spread with good lard and a flake of coarse salt was a standard Amish working lunch recorded in Holmes County records from the 1920s. It cost 8 cents per serving. Amos Yoder called it the fastest lunch that still means something. Root vegetable hash. Whatever root vegetables are on hand, potato, turnip, parsnip, carrot, diced small, fried in lard until crispy, seasoned with salt and dried herbs. Served with a soft boiled egg on top. This uses up vegetables that are past their prime, which is exactly the point. Cost 30 cents. It was never written down as a recipe because every household made it differently. That flexibility is the whole lesson. Hard-boiled eggs with mustard and crackers. 2 eggs, a spoonful of whole grain mustard, a handful of plain crackers. No cooking required if eggs were pre-boiled. Documented in multiple Amish household surveys from the 1940s as a standard cold weather lunch for elderly widows living alone. Takes 4 minutes to assemble. Costs 28 cents. Apple butter on cornbread? Cornbread made in a cast iron skillet lasts 3 days without going stale if stored in cloth, not plastic. A thick slice with homemade apple butter, which you can make from $2 of bruised apples and keep for a full year, is a lunch that costs 12 cents per serving once the apple butter is made. Rebecca Mast of Hartville, Ohio, made her apple butter in October and ate it every day through March. Canned salmon patties? 1 can of pink salmon, roughly $1.89, combined with a beaten egg, a spoonful of flour, and pan-fried in a thin film of oil, makes 2 full patties. This was standard fare in Amish households that had limited access to fresh meat through winter. High in omega-3s, filling, and ready in 8 minutes. Beginner mistake, overworking the mixture. Mix it barely. The patties hold better. Tomato soup from canned tomatoes. Not from a can of Campbell's, from a jar of home-canned crushed tomatoes, simmered with a half cup of whole milk or cream and a pinch of sugar to cut acidity. A jar of home-canned tomatoes costs approximately 30 cents to produce. The resulting soup costs 40 cents total and lasts 2 servings. Lydia Byler of Intercourse, Pennsylvania, kept 90 jars of crushed tomatoes in her cellar each year and called them the backbone of winter. Soft polenta with a fried egg. Cornmeal cooked soft, not set, ladled into a bowl with a fried egg broken over the top and a drizzle of butter. This is the Northern European and Appalachian ancestor of what Italian restaurants now charge $18 for. Cost 25 cents. Takes 12 minutes. Hannah Yoder of Goshen, Indiana, ate this 3 days a week for 40 years and at 81 told her granddaughter it was the reason she had good teeth. Smoked meat and pickled beet plates. A thin slice of smoked ham or dried beef, the kind that keeps for months without refrigeration when properly cured, alongside 2 or 3 slices of pickled beets. The beets provide iron and natural nitrates. The smoked meat provides the protein. Together they cost 55 cents per plate. This was considered a dignified cold lunch in Wayne County households through the 1960s, meaning it required no apology for its simplicity. Chicken liver on toast. Chicken livers cost, on average, $1.20 per pound, making them one of the most nutritionally dense and affordable proteins available. Sautéed in butter with a pinch of onion powder and served on thick toast, this was a midday staple in Amish households across Holmes County from at least 1910. It is rich in iron, B12, and folate, nutrients that older adults are frequently deficient in. Beginner mistake, overcooking. They should be just barely pink inside, 30 seconds too long, and they turn chalky. Bread and warm milk with honey. The last one, the quietest one. A thick slice of good bread, a mug of whole milk warmed on the stove, a spoon of raw honey stirred in. This was the standard noon meal for elderly Amish men and women who were unwell, recovering, or simply tired. It costs 18 cents. It is by every modern nutritional measure a complete and balanced small meal. And in every household survey Dr. Fenn conducted, it was the meal that subjects mentioned first when asked what they missed from their mother's kitchens. The real point, none of these lunches require a microwave. None require a subscription. None come in packaging. And every single one of them can be made by a person living alone in a small kitchen in under 20 minutes for less than 50 cents. The Amish didn't eat this way because they had to. They ate this way because they understood that a good lunch is not a product. It's a skill, and skills once learned cannot be taken away. If your grandmother made any version of what you just heard, a particular bean soup, a specific bread and butter combination, a jar of something put up in autumn, tell me about it in the comments. The best things I've learned about this way of eating haven't come from old filing cabinets. They've come from you.